Hi, my name is Jeff Jamison. Thanks for inviting me to take part in this tour. I live in Van Nuys, a few blocks north of Sherman Oaks. We've had this garden for about 10 years. We ripped out the St. Augustine grass and planted all these natives ourselves. Come on, I'll show you around. As you can see, it's not a very large yard. We took out we made this hole in the fence and put in a path to our door to sort of make it a more welcoming entrance. It used to be, the path used to just go along the side of the garage. This is the one thing that we hired somebody to help us with because it was too much work for us. He excavated 6 inches down, put in a layer of gravel, and then this marvelous DG or decomposed granite material. The sun is kind of bright. Which is permeable to the water. It helps the water seep down into the water table, and I like the way it looks. It's just really natural, really great. You can see these flagstones. They're the remnants of the walkway that we broke up and put into the DG, creating, I guess, what you could call urban flagstones. So let me introduce some of these plants to you. They're sages, mallows, and buckwheats mostly. This is a Clevelandii sage. They all smell so great, by the way. I wish you could be here to smell them. These are about 8 years old, and I've learned about pruning. In the beginning, I thought, oh, they're natives, they're natural, just let them have their own growth pattern, which I still basically believe. But with Clevelandii, with these sages, they get woody, and I think I should have started cutting them back much sooner, which I didn't, and I might have to take them out at one point. It's June. These were going guns a-blazes with these flowers in the spring, and now they're basically done. So they're just providing seeds for the birds, but it's a beautiful purple color. I wish you could see them. But they're getting ready to just hunker down for the summer, and they will go dormant. This is a buckwheat, a native California buckwheat. I mean, it's not a cultivar. It's a real species, but that's a buckwheat that an Aragonum that I grew, propagated myself. This is a Howard McMinn manzanita. You see manzanitas all over California, and this little guy is 8 years old. He just never grew. It's a Howard McMinn. This is also a buckwheat. This is a crocatum, or sulfur buckwheat, and you can see it still has some wonderful yellow blossoms left, and then they turn kind of cinnamon color, kind of brown. My aesthetics have really changed since I've grown native plants. Now I think brown is beautiful. It's part of the natural life cycle. See, here's another buckwheat. This is a Santa Cruz Island buckwheat, and it's throwing up these beautiful white blossoms, but they're gonna turn brown soon, and then some of them are already turning brown, as you can see. And then there'll be seeds for the birds, and I think it's just great. Now this is one that I have not trimmed, and it's quite large, and it's really spectacular, very architectural shape. I really like that. And over here is a Hyptis emorii, or a desert lavender. It is, I've had to cut it back severely. It's not a great place for this plant, but it's a pretty spectacular plant. This is not a native. It's a Texas Ranger. Beautiful purple flowers in the spring. I tried to kill it one time. It was leaning way over into the sidewalk, and I chopped it, and I got it to go upright, thinking it was dead, and this is what it's done. So, French lavender doesn't get a drop of water. Look how it just has taken her. Not a native, but very, very happy. And the bees do like it, so what the heck. I've ugly cut it back. Terrible looking, but I can't get to the side of my yard if I don't do that. Here's some remnants of wildflowers that we sow in the spring. Actually, I think these ones came back on their own. We always do that just for fun. In the winter, when it's wet and cold, we throw a bunch of wildflower seeds out. And another Santa Cruz Island buckwheat. Here's a old-timey sagebrush. It's a Artemisia. And here's a, hi, good morning. How you doing? This is a snapdragon, or an epilobium or saucinaria that always goes crazy in the summer. Really quite wonderful. And here is a tree that you see all over. It's kind of hard to see with this exposure, but this is a Palo Verde. Beautiful yellow blossoms. So just a few left, but this will get to be about 25 feet tall. This cultivar is called a Desert Museum, which I recommend because it doesn't have thorns. The other natural one has thorns. And the green bark that has chlorophyll, it actually acts like leaves in photosynthesis. Spectacular tree that you see everywhere. Now over here against the garage, it gets shade. Here in the center of the yard, blasting sun. You know, we got those valley conditions. I'm jealous of them over on the other side of the hill with their growing conditions. Here in the valley, blasting sun in the summer and cold in the winter. I had to put hardy plants in the center of the yard here where they get blasted by the sun, but against the garage here, more shade. This is a California fuchsia that I cut way back to the ground every year, and then it comes back like this, and you can see it's starting to throw out other branches. Hummingbird sage that at this point of the year is going to start going dormant, but incredible blossoms in the spring. It smells so wonderful. And this is the total shade part of the yard. Here's a mallow. I got a couple mallows. This is an Indian mallow and a butylon, which everybody else can grow. I can't grow. I think it's because the roots of this guy have totally taken over this bed, and I think nothing else can grow here because of that. So this is a bush mallow. This is also a bush mallow. It's called a Mallocosamnus fasciculatus cassitus, and it has incredible flowers. Look, there's some blossoms there. This is another example of, I would have, if I knew what I was doing, I would have kept it trimmed and cut back, but I didn't, so it got to be kind of a monster with this trunk like a tree. I don't think I would have created something with the trunk, but that's what I get. Under here then, total shade, we got some native Dudleya, some succulents, and this is a California currant, Ribes vivernifolium, that absolutely perfect place for this plant. Doesn't get any sun. Right plant, right place. You can see how it just takes over. This is also a Ribes, a different variety. It's a white currant. This is a coffee berry that also likes the shade. This plant, oh, and there's my green door. This is can hardly see it, a euphorbia. It's leggy anyway in its natural state, and then since it doesn't get any sun, it's even more leggy. So I think maybe I should take it out. It's an example of, I asked a good friend of mine who's a gardener, what do I put in this area of the yard that gets absolutely no sun? What do I put there? She said, a chair, because nothing's gonna grow. So it's like, you know, be smart about it. So what I did to make lemonade out of lemons was put in this DG patio, I guess you could say. It's a makeshift patio and a couple chairs. I used to have a bed here, right here against the house, and changed my mind. I put this rusted steel panel up here, this Corten steel, cut some holes in it, velcroed it to the side of the house, pretended like I was an art director, and then put these chairs here, and my wife and I sit out here in the evenings and watch the birds and the bees grow crazy in the yard and talk to the neighbors. Before, when we had the grass out here, it was basically dead. It didn't feed anything. It provided no habitat. We didn't have chairs out here. Look how we've increased the value of our outdoor life by doing this. It's made all the difference in the world in our lifestyle. This, by the way, is a crepe myrtle. It is not native. You see them everywhere, but look at this beautiful canopy it's provided for us as we sit out here. I love this tree. I recommend it. Water feature for the birds. That fountain I got off of Craigslist. And a few more plants I'll point out to you. Another sage. This is a Mrs. Beard's, which does pretty well in the shade. This is beginning to get a little sun here. That's another snapdragon. Over here is another buckwheat that you can see. It's some of the stalks up there. That's rubescens, or red buckwheat. This is a easy to grow go-to plant for Southern California. It is called a baccharis or coyote brush. Kind of boring, but look how green, and it's that way all year long. This particular cultivar is called Pigeon Point. Another buckwheat. This is St. Catherine's lace, Aragonum giganteum. This one's, they get very large. and throws up these beautiful white flowers, which will turn brown and cinnamon in the late summer, but as I told you before, I like that. That's an example of when you plant these plants, you got to make sure you have plenty of room. By the way, get 4-inch pots or a gallon when you buy the plants. I wouldn't bother spending the money to get the 5-gallon or more, because frankly, they often are not as healthy when they grow up as the ones that are in the smaller containers. This is white sage. That is part of the Native American culture in their ceremonies and so forth. This one has incredible blossoms. I cut this back. Ideally, you wouldn't cut it back. You'd let the white sage just roam free, but because of the path here, I had to cut it back, and when I did, I think I lost some of it. It lost its capability to produce these blossoms, so that was not ideal. Bees bliss sage. Lots of bees love this. This is just one plant. And then here's another shot of that tree. You still can't really see it. These are desert marigold, Bailea multidorata, and very successful plant, doesn't get a drop of water. By the way, I water this yard once a month. These are really great. It'll bloom like that all summer long. And when I do water, I've got this collapsible hose, which I love because it has such a small footprint. They only last a year or two, and then I just replace them. And when I water, I point this at a plant for 30 seconds. That equals about 3 gallons of water. All these plants get between 3 and 5 gallons of water when I water them, usually once a month in the summer. Sometimes I don't water at all. I may only water once or twice during the summer, because watering in the heat of the summer is an absolute no-no. I never water above, say, 85, 90 degrees. The plants, the roots, it just invites disease and pathogens. It seems counterintuitive. You think, oh my gosh, it's hot, I should water. No, you don't. You don't do that with Southern California, with native plants. All right, let's go to the backyard. This is in the process of being converted to native plants. It has a lot of non-natives in it. St. Augustine grass that I kind of baby. Let me start over in this corner here. Right place, right plant, right place in this shady part of the yard. There's a camellia that we inherited with the yard, and these are coral bells that I planted, or heuchera. Perfect spot for them. Still holding on to some blossoms from the spring. Next to a maidenhair fern, another native that loves the shade. Over here is a Leptosporum, a non-native, but you see these all over, and I really love them. This is called a silver sheen, but zero sun in this corner, so I don't think it's gonna make it. Next to an orchid, next to a pitcher sage. This is an example of a very fragrant native with beautiful flowers that is great in the winter and early spring. And then it says, I'm done. I'm gonna take a break for the summer. Ends up looking pretty raggedy. Gotta be patient with that one. I got some roses left over that aren't doing well. And a word about the St. Augustine grass. A lot of people that are really into native lawns, native plants are, very down on lawns, and they're not ideal, I must admit. But to have a little corner like this with some grass, I'm from the Midwest. It's a remnant of my childhood, and so I kind of take good care of it. I fertilize it, and don't tell anybody I even put a chemical on it that kills grubs that are the culprits that create those brown patches that you often see with St. Augustine grass. So this is a birch that really belongs in Bavaria, not here, and it's starting to fail. We put it in many, many years ago and have to be taken out. Nothing grows underneath here. Got a kumquat, some Santa Barbara daisies, but just too shady. That's a Dorianthus that I've had for many years, not a native. Cool plant, don't know much about it. Another water feature for the birds. This is a plant from, and I put mirrors around to kind of fake you out and make you think there's more yard than I have. This is I understand, a rare plant from the Channel Islands. It's called a Blair's wire lettuce, or Munzophamnes blairii. It has nice flowers in the spring. It's a cool plant. I've killed a couple of them, but this one's still hanging in. This is a Pacific wax myrtle. nice green hedge-like plant. This one's young, but I think it could become a hedge. I think that's a barberry. Had it for many years. It's just started to finally grow more of that. I think it's called Murica, I think is the botanical name for that. And this is a bed that gets a lot of sun in the morning, nothing in the afternoons. So it's been kind of problematic. I've got some of that buckwheat that I propagated myself, some sage that's struggling to find light. This plant is doing just great, and I love this plant. This is a canyon sunflower, or Venegacia carpicioides. One of the reasons I like it is because I like to say the botanical name. It's fun to say. Anyway, delicate stems, juicy leaves, flowers all summer. Kind of hard to find. I had to like mail order to get it. I killed a couple, but this one finally settled in. Sticky monkey flower. You see them in the canyons in Griffith Park when you take hikes. I had trouble finding the right plant for this area, and the monkey flowers, they dig it. You keep the soil pretty moist. They like it moist. And then I have containers here that provide color for the patio. They're not native, but like this is another French lavender. Got some geranium, got this fig, some succulents. I don't know what this flowering plant is, but like I said, color for this patio. I believe that this flower is a native, but I don't even know what it is. And morning glory, that's spectacular, fills in this trellis over the summer. It is not native, but there is a native version of morning glory if you want to look into it. And this is an example of wrong plant, wrong place. This is a caliandra, or a fairy duster. There is a native version of this, much more smaller and much more delicate. This one is from Australia or South Africa. It's a monster. I cut it back several times every year or every summer. But it's a nice hedge or shade, I guess you could say. And there's the camellia. Hey, thanks for watching. Resource I want to mention to you that was very important to me in putting my yard together is the Theodore Payne Foundation in Sun Valley. It's a nonprofit. It's a large nursery up there with native plants. They have classes. They help owners like me take out our lawns, put in native plants. They help cities put in native landscaping around libraries and civic buildings. They work with school kids. They help landscapers, train landscapers to work with native plants. They have a wonderful garden tour in the spring in April. Check them out, then you can see gardens like mine all over the city where people have incorporated native plants. The Theodore Payne Foundation. Also, if you have any more questions for me, contact the folks at the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. They'll get a hold of me. Anyway, thanks a lot. Happy planting.